And welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, JVaz, and you're watching the JVaz Show, a music and entertainment podcast. We have a real special guest today, a Texas land rap pioneer. But before we get there, make sure you follow us on all the social media pages at the JVaz Show. Check out the website, thejvazshow.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. And let's get right into this, man. As I mentioned, a Texas land rap pioneer. Filero, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. It's good to be here, man.
Man, appreciate your time. I was telling you off camera, this is on a fan level. This is dope to be able to do this, and I hope that we can bring light to things people might not be aware of. As far as we'll go over the questions, but as far as any controversies or anything like that, hopefully we can bring light to those problems and then get the updates from what you got going on right now with your
right on
with your career, man.
It's a controversial business, man.
Yeah, it is. We were talking about that with Bo Bundy on another interview, and he's like, "There's a lot of bullshit in this industry."
Yes, sir.
And people don't talk about that. It's not something that's out there as much.
They just see the tip of the iceberg. You know what I'm saying? They don't see everything else that's underneath it. You know what I mean?
So hopefully we can do that with you today. And let's get right into this, man. So
sure.
Let's take it all the way back. Southeast Land Sector, then it was Aggravated, then it was Most Hated.
Correct.
All right, so talk to us about how Southeast Land Sector came about and how the transition from there to Aggravated and Most Hated came about as well.
Well, all right. Southeast Latin Sector, man, was I guess a gang, you could say. But really, I met Grim in like 92, and he was in Southeast Latin Sector, and so the first album we did came out in 94. We produced Grim's album, Making It Matter Worse was the name of the album, and we had a week to do that album. 1 week, we recorded that at Garza Sound Studios on Patton, right here in the north side.
Yeah.
And we had like 40 hours. So that was the first album we did, and that came out in January '94. That was Grim solo, called "Making It Matter Worse" in the Southeast Latin Sector, which we had the clique we're trying to bring up on there, but Grim was the only rapper at the time. It was hard to find a Mexican rapper. I couldn't find a Latin rapper when I first started, and I had to search. You know what I mean? And when I met Grim, it was on. So that was the first project, man. That was '94 when Grim's album came out. But I wanted to do a group. I didn't want to just have a solo rapper. I wanted to be like some NWA Ghetto Boys type thing. So that's where Aggravated popped up after we did Grim's album.
And obviously you had on Aggravated it was Grim, you, Villain, Lord Loco.
Yeah. Well, Aggravated the members changed so much, but on the album cover, it was me, Grim, Lord Loco, Ike Man, and Troublemaker. Was on the cover. My cousin Balasso was in there, but I think he got locked up around that time, and that was the official members on the cover. Villain was, I don't think he was on, he came around a little bit after Aggravated, and he got on the Most Hated.
Most Hated?
Yeah.
All right, so, you just mentioned how hard it was to find a Mexican or Atlantic rapper at the time. How hard was it to establish, Southeast Land Sector and the Most Hated and Aggravated? How hard was it to establish as a whole?
Well, I mean, any Mexicans is always kind of hard to establish unless you're like cutting grass or something, you know what I mean? But when I met Grim, he was already in South Park Coalition with K. Reno and he was on the album called the Terrorists, and he was on a song called South Park Coalition. Matter of fact, Grim's on the back of the album of on the poster. I'm not the poster. The long CD boxes they had.
Yeah.
Grim was on the back of the Terrorist album cover, and he had on the gray Dickie suit with the button up on the top. He looked just like SPM did on his Hillwood cover.
Yeah.
Actually, the same outfit, pretty much. So it was kind of easier once we got affiliated with SPC. Because they were doing a lot of shows, K. Reno, and we started doing shows with K. Reno and all that. Matter of fact, our first show was in Southeast, and Shadow was watching the door, And we told him, don't let nobody in for free, you know what I'm saying? And K Reno come to the show, and he wanted to charge K Reno to get in the show. I said, nobody, man, you know, so man, and then the shows was always like, something was always happening, like fights or stuff, so that just made it harder to you know, it was just crazier back in them days. There was a lot of gangster things going on. And
Yeah.
The shows were always wild and people fighting and everything. We always had to go against that, you know what I'm saying? So anytime you get a bunch of Mexicans together, man, it just...
We don't know how to act.
Yeah, it
We
goes,
don't know how to
crazy,
act,
man.
man.
And then we used to wire them up with the music, so they would get crunk, and the next thing you know, it's going down, man. But it was always difficult. It's still difficult for Latin or Mexican, I don't like saying Latin, but Mexicans to do anything. So right now we're trying to break into the film industry.
Yeah.
And so it's just like how it was in the 90s with the music, you know, it's kind of the same.
And see, one of the things we were discussing here earlier, you listen to Most Hated, Aggravated. You guys were Mexican. You guys are Mexican, and it came out just genuine. You guys are Mexican. You guys are rapping, dope. Fast forward to some of these artists today, it feels like they're trying to push the issue a little too hard to show they're Mexican. And it doesn't come out as authentic, or maybe also it's a style of music I don't care for, or people as a whole. Nowadays it's just kind of like,
I think they're trying to push something that's obvious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just people trying too hard, I guess. Just be yourself. That's the problem. Everybody don't want to be themselves nowadays. Everybody's trying to be like somebody else. Like in our days, man, we just wanted to be different. Well, everybody was different. Everybody had their own sound. Now everybody wants to copy the next man's sound.
yes.
So the originality is totally gone from the music thing. You know what I mean?
How do you feel about today's artists? Would you work with some of these artists, or have you worked with some of these artists?
Well, I haven't really worked with none of these. Not really. I mean, I don't have nothing against the new artists or nothing, but I still work with the same people I've been working with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if I work with a new artist, it's just going to be the same way as we did anything else. You know what I mean? I just treat everybody the same,
Yeah.
pretty much.
You're currently working with Lil Young,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
What you guys got going on?
Well, we're working on a lot of stuff. Right now, we're working on some movie things. Like he did a movie called First of the Month with Rashid, comedy. And then we just got done doing Gun Talk, his second movie. It might be his third, but I think it's his second movie. And I'm doing like a lot of the graphics on the film with the gunshots and the sound and mixing and the coloring on the movie editing. It's kind of like editing music, but it's a whole different format, So we're working on the movie stuff right now, and he's actually going to help me. We're working on this Most Hated movie too, And during the music stuff, I mean, the movie thing is also pushing the new songs we got on the soundtrack and stuff like that too. So the movie thing is just helping the music push out more.
The Most Hated movie is something that we've as fans have been waiting for, because you guys have talked about it before. Do you guys have a release date for this yet, or at least a plan in mind on when you guys?
It could be next summer. It's my first movie that I'm actually producing and directing, and it feels like the first album I ever produced. Because a lot of people saying, "Oh, you can't do it," and all this type of things, and it just motivates me more to get it done.
Yeah.
Because I know I can do it. I know how to edit already, so I got the same. It's kind of the same way you edit movies. Is kind of the same that you do music.
Same
it's
concept.
all the same,
yeah.
pretty much. So I got all the equipment we need. It's not like I'm searching for the stuff you got to have.
Yeah.
Because back when we did the music, we had to find all this. It wasn't as easy as it was nowadays. You know what I'm saying? The computer wasn't doing the music like they're doing it now. Everything's drag and drop and little dots, and we had to actually make the music. Buy the keyboards and pay the studio time. It wasn't as easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Talk about your acting. As I mentioned earlier, we know you were part of the crew of the cast on the Fifth Ward series that was on the UMC channel.
Fifth Ward, yeah,
Fifth
UMC
Ward.
TV, yeah,
Yeah,
Urban Movie Channel. That's Greg Carter. Greg Carter's director and the producer of that film, but he had actually had a movie back in the day. It's called Fifth Ward, and I came out an extra in that movie,
Yeah.
just like in a garage scene or something. But now he did we're on the second season of the Fifth Ward TV series. The first season I had got like my first speaking roles. Like I was surprised at how much he gave me, man. Like I had a lot of pages to read, and I was like, man, it was crazy, man, because I didn't want to get on camera and not remember my lines. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to remember your lines quick. But I found a way, like me and the other actors would just repeat it to each other, and it came out like a song. So acting is kind of like dropping a verse. You know what I mean? You learn your lines and you go on there and spit it. So it was kind of easy for me. And then the lines they gave me was like my favorite words I always say, you know, F this and woo woo, and I was getting crunk, but it was easy, man. I like the acting, man. It was really cool.
Speaking of the movie, and then we talked about Lil Young and them. There was a video that came out a couple years ago on YouTube, and I believe you and Young were working on a project. Is this something we can expect to come out soon as well?
What project? What was that? A song?
I don't know. You guys just spoke of so you're working on a project with Lil Young. It was both of you guys just in the studio.
Well, we've done a lot of songs together.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you. It's probably some music things because I don't think back then we were promoting any movie stuff.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking because like I know you guys work on some songs, but I was thinking like maybe like a collab project, like an album or something like that.
Well, not lately. I mean, we do music so fast. We could do a song in like an hour, so we just kind of shit those songs out. But the movie thing takes a whole lot more time.
Yeah.
So we've been working on this movie thing like every night. He comes over like 2 in the morning when he gets off work, like 2 to 6 in the morning. We'll be working and editing on whatever we got going on. You know what I'm saying? We've been filming like 2 different things at the same time right now. A little bit of the Aggravated movie with Pablo Nunez, who's playing the SPM on the movie also. And anything with the movie, you can't do it you can't shoot a movie by yourself. There's no way.
Yeah.
Like you can do an album by yourself, but a movie, there's no way. You know, so you got to have a team. I always speak about it takes teamwork, man. It's like I treat this movie thing and this rap industry like football, like a football team. Everybody's important, from the coach to the water guy everybody has their own role, and without that one guy, you're not gonna make it.
You ain't gonna make it. Yeah.
You got to have a team, man. So he's part of the team that we have, and he's not the only one. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
We got to have at least a team to make it happen.
So, speaking of making things happen, going back to when you started your, the music industry, compared to starting in the movie industry now, which one do you think is harder?
Well, man, I would say they're about the same. They're both difficult, man. You know, they're both hard. But I would say it's harder to put a movie out.
Yeah.
Or at least to get distribution. You know, anybody can distribute your record nowadays. Just put it on like CD Baby or whatever. But the movie thing, you got to really find a distributor if you want to get paid. I don't think there's a route to just put the movie out and let people download it and get paid yet. Besides YouTube.
Yeah.
But we're trying to get paid. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It's complicated, man.
So taking it back to, to what we were talking about, about Aggravated, Most Hated, is how exactly did Shut 'Em Down come? Obviously, it was D-Town, but how did you guys all transition and ending up in Shut 'Em Down Records?
Well, after Aggravated only lasted a year. See, I started that company called Aggravated Records with my uncle, who's helped put the money into it. And then we had contract differences, and I ended up burning the contract, and because a couple of members signed it, and we were supposed to sign it all together, and it became like a big problem. Well, you signed it, you didn't sign it, and so I ended up burning the contract. So they made a fake Aggravated to replace us. So we ended up signing with Jam Down in like '96, and then we did like 2 or 3 albums on Jam Down, and then our contract was up, and I met then Low G and Danny Marino, which is D-Town, had a company called Wet Black Records, but it wasn't like official yet. They were just really starting it up. Because actually D-Town from Shut 'Em Down, the CEO, he passed away, R.I.P. D-Town, but he was always invested in a lot of record companies that people don't know about, like Fat Texas was a lot of D-Town's money. Straight Lace Entertainment was a lot of D-Town's money. And then when I met D-Town, this was like in 2000, you know, he was like a real big boss of the hood. And he had a lot of people from Mexico around him, like 5 or 10 guys. You couldn't even get close to him. You had to go through all these guys. You know, he was like real serious in the street business. But when I met D-Town, he had a lot of faith in me. He had gave me like a van, Astro van. He paid for it. He gave it to me. He got me like a place to stay, you know. And then the first meeting I had with him, one of the first meetings, we went straight to Guitar Center, and he said, "Get whatever we need." You know what I'm saying? That was like a dream for me because I didn't have but maybe a keyboard or something small. So we went to Guitar Center, and he said, "Whatever you want, whatever we need, get it." So I just started. I need one of these, one of those, one of those. We ended up spending like about almost $30,000. You know what I'm saying? At Guitar Center. And we went straight to he even bought us the studio on the airport. We had like a building and everything. And I had all these boxes, man. I was like, oh, man, it's finna go down. You know what I'm saying? I really took a lot of, I was real thankful for that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to grind and show him that how serious we are. You know, so when I met D-Town, man, we had that studio running quick. And then we did that album, Bring It to the Table, was the first album that I did. Me and X-Ray was on the cover.
Yeah.
But it was basically a compilation of all our artists we had on Shut 'Em Down, trying to bring it to the table. And that album had Mafioso on it, and with Grim Being and SPM, and a lot of everything was we were trying to get more radio play with that album, break out the underground a little bit more. So when we met D-Town, it was more, he was like Jam Down was owned by Patrick Lewis. They're from Trinidad, you know.
Yeah.
It was like Jamaican type thing. But when we got with D-Town, it was like the Mexican thing. We had our weapons.
Yeah.
And we had full control to do whatever we wanted to do. So he opened it up for us big time.
So, you know, glad you brought up Jam Down. I was doing some digging in you know your previous interviews and things of that nature. And one thing that caught my attention was you had mentioned that when you guys were in Jam Down, by you guys I mean Most Hated, they actually turned down a major deal from a major label that was trying to sign you guys?
I believe so. I forgot how I heard that, but I think that we were making noise, man. We sold like 14,000 CDs and cassettes in like a week.
Nice.
And so we had majors calling, from what I remember, but I believe that Jam Down had wanted a label deal, wanted to sign the whole label for distribution, and not necessarily let Most Hated sign a deal, I guess.
Be the face of
Yeah. So I think we had, I can't remember the name of the label, but there was 1 or 2 labels that might have called and wanted us, but I think he basically wanted the whole label, so the deal never happened, you know. And who knows what would have happened, man.
Yeah.
We almost signed with Rap-A-Lot in the very beginning. Grim's dad's a lawyer, and Lil J had gave Grim a couple of contracts way back in the days. And Grim's dad looked at his contracts like, ain't no way you want to sign them contracts.
Yeah.
You know, so we could have been on Rap-A-Lot, which probably wouldn't have been a big deal by now because it would have put us out there. But financially, I guess it didn't make sense at that time.
Yeah, at the time. So let's backtrack to you know, earlier you mentioned SPM and them, and this is one of the things that you know, in a previous interview where I had with Shadow, I brought this question up, and he's like, "This is more of a Filero question." I was like,
"Okay,
let's make this happen." So before we get to that, let's build it up a bit. How did you link up with SPM?
All right, well, shout out to Shadow, man. Shadow, the producer, Grim's brother of Most Hated, you know, my partner.
Yeah, how did you link up with SPM?
Well, I think he was following us at a couple of shows when we were doing Aggravated, and I think he ended up talking to like Loco or hooking up with one of the members of the group, and he ended up coming to my house. I had a house on the southwest side. We called it the Playboy Mansion. You know what I mean? And it was a cool little spot, man. But Los came over, and he had brought a couple of songs on his demo. I don't even think it wasn't Hillwood, wasn't even out yet. And we had Aggravated and Grimm's album was already out. But yeah, I put that cassette. It was on a cassette when Los came to my crib, and I put that cassette on. You know how you just analyzing, and I'm just like, I was tripping on his voice. Like, damn, this voice is really fucking weird. Like, nobody distinct. You know what I mean? And he had super flows on that bitch. He was flowing like how the Southeast style, the SPC style at the time was like tongue twisting, and it was dope. So I like that. So we ended up hooking up, and I ended up putting him on Warriors. Was, I believe, the first time he came out officially, like in the stores or on official product. And after we did that, I ended up helping him do Hustle Town. I taught him how to make the beats, because he was buying beats at the time, you know what I mean? And it takes too long sometimes when there weren't that many producers around.
Yeah.
You know, so his brother Tootie, I said, you need to buy this keyboard, man. This ASR 88, big old fucking keyboard sampler. And I showed Los how to do sequencing on there. And he would make melodies, and I would add the beats to it. We collaborated on like 80% of the record. Me and him did it pretty much together.
Yeah.
Then he got a couple other producers to do a couple of songs. And then I told him, though, and at that time, Southeast was really about the blue. And his Hillwood album cover was like flames, and, man, change it to blue, man. Get you some other guys. Get some more rappers on there. And he got like Lil G and Rashid, because his first album was like all his voice the whole time. And to me, it got annoying hearing one person do the whole record. But when we did Hustle Town, we started putting like I say, Rashid, Lil G, and other producers, and putting other people in it. And the chemistry that album had, it's like done millions and millions of views and downloads, and
yeah,
I can't even believe it, because we were just both fucking around. In my opinion, we were just, fuck it, let's make some music. I had no idea what
it was
going to
take off the way it did.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So, to my understanding, you produced about 80% of Hustle Town, or you were involved with, in one way or another.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I helped him. I taught him how to make the beats, and he wasn't. He'll tell you. Even Carlos will tell you he don't like making drums that much. He's not really good at drums, but he's good at melodies. So a lot of the times he had a bunch of songs where on the floppy disk that he had made, or a bunch of rhythms or melodies, you could say. And I would dig through the melodies and see what I could make out of some of them. If I could find a good melody, and we're gonna produce that and make it. So that's pretty much how that album came out. Like, and he knows how to make beats. You know what I'm saying?
And I was reading into this again. This is in a fan point of view, and then it turned out you didn't get the proper credit on Hustle Town, or at the time did it feel that way, or can you talk to us more about that?
Well, on the cover it says drums remixed by Filero. You know what I'm saying? Even on Grimm's first album, it says produced by Grimm Productions. So I never really felt like I got my credit as far as on the production side. Like you know what I'm saying? There was a lot more to producing besides just making beats.
Yeah.
Like he used to spend a lot of studio time at I forgot the studio we used to go to. I forgot, but I ended up being like, look, we got to buy a DAT machine and get this DAT recorder. We did a lot of recording at the house, and we did the instrumentals on a DAT tape, and then we took the DAT tape to the studio, and he rapped on the DAT without having to spend all the time in the studio. I saved him so much money by producing it at the house. You know what I'm saying? So producing is more than just making the beats. It's actually, you don't have to make beats to be a producer. You just got to put the shit together. You know what I'm saying?